Hello, in this video we are going to talk about how are we going to find the tangent function given the graph. Let's do a recall of what does the basic tangent function look like. So let's draw two periods. This is 1/2 pi, oops, and this is pi, and this is 3/2 pi, and this is negative 1/2 pi. Okay, so the basic tangent function is look like this one. What do we know about this basic tangent function? First of all, we have the midline is x-axis, which is y equals to 0, which gives you the d is equal to 0. Second thing is the period is equal to pi. In general, how do we find period for a tangent function? Period is equals to pi divided by absolute value of b. That's different than sines and cosines because they use 2 pi. And the next, we also know the asymptote, which is we have a multiple one, is found by asymptote equals to pi over 2 times absolute value of b. In this case, we have 1/2 pi, or negative 1/2 pi, or 3/2 pi. You add every period to it. And we also talked about the stretching factor, A. In this case, we don't have any stretching factor, so that means A is the stretching factor. So that means the midpoint is going to be what? I'm going to label that in red. The midpoint is the middle from the center of the graph to the asymptote, so which is 1/4, and 1/4 pi, tangent 1/4 pi is equal to 1. So the midpoint is here, is 1/4 pi and 1. Okay, another thing yeah, that's it. If you have this information, it should give you, oh, another shift. There's no shift for the basic one, the phase shift or the horizontal shift. That is come from C over B, which is equal to 0 in this case. Also a vertical shift, because the midline gives you a 0. So here gives you the use of A, B, C, D. So in general, in a graph, what you're looking for is you need to identify the period, which help you to find the B, because period is equal to pi over absolute value of B. The stretching factor, which is the midpoint. To be more accurate, is the y coordinate of the midpoint. And then the next part is the vertical changes, vertical shift, that helps you to find D. This gives you the A. And then the phase shift helps you to find C, because it's equal to C over b. Also, asymptote could helpful too. Asymptote can help you to find out, you see how far away from each asymptote. That helps you with the period, to find out where the period is. And then usually when you find the period, you're either looking for how far away from each center of the graph, or the other way to do is find out how far away from each asymptote, which help you also the b. Now that's how you find a, b, c, d. Okay, so let me give you an exercise, see if you can find the graph. I found the equation given the graph. So now I have this. If I give you 1, it still work. -4, 4 here, and this point 2 and the 2. Okay, that's all the information that I gave you. I didn't even give you 2 period. I just give you 1 period. And tell me, what do you get? What do you identify? Well, first of all, I identify the period is equals to 4 minus -4, which is 8, which means I can find b, because pi over absolute value of b gives me the period. So that means I solve for b is equal to pi over 8. Okay, we know asymptote is equal to 4. Anything else? Midnight. Midnight doesn't change because the center remained 0, 0. So that means I know that d is equal to 0 because y equals to 0. And stretching factor. Stretching factor a is come from the midpoint. So let's take a look at the y-coordinate of the midpoint. The y-coordinate of the midpoint is 2. To be more accurate is the y-coordinate, how far away from the midnight. The midnight is in here. And the y-coordinate, this part, the distance from this part is the y-coordinate of the midpoint. That gives you the stretching factor. So the midpoint is 2, 2. So that means a is going to equal to 2, because in the basic function, a should equal to 1. The midpoint should, the y-coordinate should equal to 1. And now it's become 2, so that means they're stretching by 2. So now with a, b, now we need to find c. C is the phase shift. Well, the phase doesn't shift. So that means it's equal to 0. So that means c over b is equal to 0. That tells me that c is equal to 0. So that means together we have the function is equal to y equals to a equals to 2 tangent b equals to pi over 8x. C is equal to 0. That means we don't need to do anything. And d also equals to 0. So that means here is the function. Also, you should check. The next step is checking on decimal graphing calculator. Okay, let's do another exercise. Here is the graph. So I have pi over 4, half pi, and then 3, 4 pi, and the pi. Here I have negative pi over 4, negative half pi, negative 3 pi over 4, and the pi. What happened is I want the asymptote at 2 pi, pi over half. And then here is the midpoint at 2.5, and then the graph starting from, let's add another asymptote in here. So I want the graph to be in here. Okay, so that's the two phases. And let me also locate the midpoint for you. So the midpoint of the graph is in here, which is, actually, let me make it a little bit harder. Let's make this become the midpoint. Still in the middle of the center and the asymptote. So this should be 3 pi over 8, and that gives you a 0. Okay, now here's everything that you know, and this is the center of the graph. The center is pi over 4 and 2.5. So if I give you the center, I don't even give you the midline, because the center is where is the midline is. Okay, so let's find out everything that we know, or maybe you can pause the video and try to do it by yourself. Now, first, what do we know? We have the vertical shift, very obvious. It goes up. D equals to 2.5. We found D now. And then the phase shift, or maybe the period. Phase shift is harder because phase shift is C over B. That means without B, you can find C. We can find period first. So the period is, let's see, how far away from each asymptote? Well, it's pi over 2. So period is equal to pi over 2. And we know that period is equal to pi divided by absolute value of a b. Now we solve for b. B is equal to 2. We have D and B. Well, we just talked about the phase shift, because the phase shift help us to find C, phase shift, how much they shift. Well, the center should come from 0 to 0. Now it's become pi over 4, so that means it's shift to the left. Oh, right, sorry. Or left, either way works because they repeat. I'm more used to right. So let's do right, pi over 4, and our phase shift is equal to C over B. And C over B is equal to pi over 4. And our B is equal to 2. So a C is equal to what? Well, in that case, we have a 4C equals to 2 pi divided by 2, which is pi over 2. Pi over 8, sorry. The phase shift pi over 8. Sorry, C should equal to 1/2. Let me run the calculation here. So I have pi over 4 equals to C over 2, because we just found B is equal to 2. And then in order to get rid of the denominator, we times 2 on both sides, and then simplify it. So we got C is equals to pi over 2. So now what do we get? We have a D, we have B, we also have C. This might not be very clear. Let me use the purple one. Okay, so next is we want to find A. Well, let's see where is our A. A is the stretching factor. How do we find that? So stretching factor is how far away the midpoint, the y-coordinate, to the center of the graph. So that means is this distance. So this distance is equal to 2.5. So that means our stretching factor A is equals to 2.5. And anything else that we need to be considered in this graph? Right, it's the upside down. So that means we need to take a negative to the whole graph. Now, let's do this. Y is equal to negative A tangent B, which is 2 times x, and then they shift to the right, pi over 4. So that means C is equals to pi over 2, and then at D is 2.5.